It's time for tennis. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know exactly what this is going to be about. I guess I have a few things I could get off my chest here, but also just talk about. So, enjoy the background tennis and whatever comes out of my mouth, I suppose. But first, here's a slide, and you can pause on this section if you want to see what my current setup is. I mentioned quite a few products there, but yeah, I'll leave that for you to go back on and pause over because there's no reason I should have that just hanging out there for 15 or 20 seconds, right? So check it out if you want. I list a bunch of products, and a lot of those products I genuinely stand by and I have used for a long time. In this video, I'm using Caviar in the mains, which is that neon yellow. I have that in 16 gauge, and I have Absolute in the mains, which is black, and that is at 17 gauge. Figured I could enjoy a little more durability, so trying 16s in the main. And I was also really curious if the other Toroline strings have the kind of magical snapback that the Wasabi strings have. If you guys haven't, you should check out one of my older videos where I also have a video on my Instagram that's like my most popular Instagram reel, and it's just a video of the snapback on the Toroline Wasabi strings even after the strings broke. It's like, so clearly the strings in that video are very worn because they broke, but sure enough they snap back like new still, and I never cleaned them once. My point is that I am a little bit obsessed with snapback, and I've observed what does and doesn't make a difference for that quality. I think the perfect string has some shape to it, so it can really bite into the ball. And the downside of a shaped string is you traditionally sacrifice a bit of snapback because you're getting two strings that are contacting on a sharp edge, increasing the friction immensely, and thus reducing the snapback. Maybe some of that wears down over time after you hit a bunch of balls, but somehow Toroline has found out a way to make a string with straight up the best snapback I've ever seen, and it still has a pretty aggressive shape, similar to something like Hyper G or Tour Bite even by Slinger. Those are some strings a lot of people should know pretty well. So Toroline is a brand I've been focused on recently as the string to beat, honestly. Specifically that Wasabi string though, so check that out if you haven't. I'm beyond impressed with that string. I will say this Caviar and Absolute combo I'm not super impressed by. It's good, don't get me wrong, but I just don't really feel like it stands out in any particular way. It kind of just falls into that category for me of like a typical nice poly string with a shape to it. It doesn't have that mind-blowing snapback like Wasabi does, but it's a perfectly good string. I just can't tell everybody that they have to go try it or anything. I mean, Wasabi's the string to beat, and I just don't quite see that these really outperform that or outperform something comparable to what this string is. But the spin is good, the feel's good. I mean, I could just go on and say everything's good because it's all good, but Wasabi's a little bit better in my opinion. It's all that and then some. I also strung this a little bit too high. I strung it at 53. I'm still getting used to my racket I just recently switched to, and I made a video about that because I took a long time finding my next racket, but I did, and I'm feeling real good about it. But it is a 104, and sometimes I feel like the spec of that makes me think I need to string a little bit higher, but I really don't. So I strung a 53, even though it's a 16 gauge, and that's just a little bit stiff. I probably should have done it at 50, but you live and you learn. And I don't think anything I really have to say about these strings that is negative has anything to do with the fact that I strung it maybe 3 to 4 pounds higher than I should. So just wanted to give that as a disclaimer with a disclaimer on it. A double disclaimer. I've also been working on my two-handed backhand. I need to make a video about this. I said I would a while ago about switching backhands, or picking a backhand I should say, and which one I chose and why, and I haven't done that video yet. That was a while ago, but honestly, when I made the commitment to the two-handed backhand, I started having doubts, and I didn't want to make a video in the middle of having doubts when I said that I made a decision, and then somewhere in the middle of it I felt like, actually, I started having second thoughts, but I don't see myself going back now. I have a two-handed backhand. I have a one sometimes when it's fun or when I need it, because sometimes it's just the better shot. and I'm comfortable enough to go for it every now and then, so I do. Especially on the run. Like when you're sprinting to the ball, you have this advantage where you can actually have that reach of a one-handed backhand but come over the ball and still have a really good shot, sometimes passing or whatnot. But every now and then it's just the best shot you might have, and I'm really glad to have that in my arsenal. But I eventually went away from the one because returns are objectively a lot harder, and picking up low balls is kind of hard. I'll talk about that more in another video. I don't want to get too sidetracked here. It'll be one of my next videos, so stay tuned. Maybe I'll title it, Why I Picked a Two-Handed Backhand. It's so tight today. Dang it. Real quick pause on this frame. I just wanted to tell you guys about the shirt that you see in this picture. This is my clothing brand. Some of you guys probably know that by now. I mention it sometimes. But yeah, that logo on my headband, which is a prototype headband, it's really good. It's coming along super nicely. Definitely a super, super good headband. The best I've ever tried. And honestly, I think a lot of people that get this one will be the best one that they've ever tried. So I'm working on it. The shirts are coming along real nice. You can actually get one of these if you want to DM me on my Instagram. But also, check out that butt cap. All that and more coming soon, but there is some stuff available like shirts and dampeners. If you guys want to check that out on my Instagram, you can see that at isn't.co. That's IZNT.co. And the dampeners and the shirts are legit. You guys know that I wouldn't be wearing it if I didn't actually like it. And you can tell that I'm a pretty picky guy. So, I mean, if I'm happy with it, I think a lot of people will be too. So I stand by my products. Okay, so let's get back to the point of the video. I'm mostly talking about Toroline strings here, saying that Wasabi strings are still the most impressive strings I've ever tried. And I'm trying Caviar and Absolute here in a hybrid setup, and I'm not blown away, but I'm not necessarily disappointed, I guess. I just sort of expected that maybe all of their strings would perform in similar ways, in terms of snapback at least, from this company Toroline, but that's not the case. I've tried Ether and I've tried Wasabi before I tried anything else, and those two strings really blew me away. And I have a Wasabi on my other racket. I got two of these blades. I have a 16 light in the mains and a 17 in the cross of Wasabi. So I haven't tried that setup yet. I've only tried the 17s. So that'll be cool, and I'll be doing a video on that soon. So we'll see if the snapback is as good and impressive. But I want to say one thing about Toroline, and this is actually something that really frustrates me, but it's just their customer service. So, I mean, I don't want to sound spoiled necessarily, but pretty much every company I've ever reached out to that manufactures strings and is kind of in that up-and-coming position, because I'm not going to reach out to like Wilson, you know, and say, hey, I'm a small YouTube channel, let me give you whatever reviews and stuff, you know, in exchange for maybe some free samples or something. And sometimes you work something out with another company, and then there's a little bit of a partnership there down the road. So, you know, I was hoping for something like that with Toroline, because I can legitimately say that Wasabi is one of the best strings I've ever tried. Like, I would confidently recommend that string to anybody. It's an amazing string. It really is. And one of the reasons I wanted to work with Toroline is because I can just say that, and I'm speaking honestly. Now, I've never spoken dishonestly about anything. And everything that I've said on my channel, I have wholeheartedly stood by entirely. But I haven't ever said that this one particular string is the best string I've ever tried. I haven't. But I feel like I can say that about those Wasabi strings from Toroline. And for some reason, they just don't seem to be responsive to anything, which is very strange for me, because when I initially reached out to that company, they were very friendly, and they sent me some samples, and I told them I really liked it, and they actually generated a coupon code. But instead of actually doing it under my channel name, they did it with my first and last name. So I requested that, you know, can you guys change it? Because my first and last name are like, you know, personal information, but also has nothing to do with my tennis channel. And ever since that request, and I don't even know if this has anything to do with it, because that's not too much to ask for, but ever since that request, they've been totally cold to me, which is weird, because they sent me free samples for me to test and me to review and talk about, and I did all of that, and I had great stuff to say, and then ever since then, they just go completely cold on me, which doesn't make any sense to me. But I follow this company on Instagram, and I don't know, their customer service is really funny, but check out this comment. So I've sent them quite a lot of messages and they just never gotten back. Like they would slowly on Instagram and then they just stopped and they kept saying that, you know, reach out to us in the emails. They never get back to me on the emails. Reach out to us on this forum. They never get back on that forum. And they just stopped messaging back on the messages for Instagram. So I left a comment here that says, why do you guys promote the strings but never reply to emails? And they liked that comment, which indicates to me, first of all, that they probably don't even really read their comments. It's either that or it's like a, you know, it's like a big F you to me specifically, which also doesn't really make sense. But honestly, with how randomly cold they've been, that kind of would. But again, I don't understand why any of this is going on. So the reason I'm telling you guys this is not necessarily here to complain. My real reason as somewhat of a tennis influencer, if you want to call me that, is to say that I love these wasabi strings because I really do. And what I'm here to do is to give you my honest opinion on these products, right? And if there's something out there worth promoting or pointing out as something maybe you shouldn't get, I'd like to go out of my way and do that for you guys. That's what I do on this channel. And it's really frustrating for me to have to say I love these strings, but I kind of hate this company's customer service. So it honestly makes me a little bit uncomfortable to just say you guys should try these strings because their customer service is really kind of sus, if you ask me. So if you guys ever run into any issues with their strings, or maybe they don't ship something or the package gets lost, I can't really reliably say that you'll ever hear back from them. If you send them an email telling them something like, hey, my package never arrived, or like, you know, something went wrong with the strings, or I think I got a defective product or something like that, or any issues or questions that you might even have about their products, like I can't confidently say that you'll hear back from them. So with that said, I would love for you guys to try the wasabi string and experience them. I just have to let that be known about Toroline and my experience with them. So, I mean, you guys can see here that post that they made on Instagram is on the 17th of June. So, I mean, if you want to see this for yourself, you can check that out, where I left that comment and they liked it. And then I have another comment replying to that saying, wow, Toroline liked that comment, but they didn't reply to it at all. It's as if they aren't reading the comments at all and they didn't respond to that or anything. So it's just a way of me like kind of pushing their buttons and seeing if they even acknowledge anything. I don't know, because they're not responding to my messages. But yeah, it's a really good string, at least the wasabi. Caviar, it seems okay. Absolute, it seems okay. I don't know. One of those strings might be messing up the other. Like maybe it's Absolute that is not providing the snapback for the caviar, or maybe it's the other way around. But I have another half set of each, so I can try wasabi in the crosses with caviar, and that'll tell me if it's caviar or not. And if it's not, then it's not. And then I can try a wasabi with Absolute in the crosses, and if that screws up the snapback, then I'll know it's Absolute, you know? So I have another half set of each to try and sort of narrow that down, but wasabi's the string to beat. What can I say? Anyway, I also wouldn't be surprised if I share this as a video that I made on my Instagram and that they share it on their profile without actually watching this video, because I'm sure that if they knew that this is what I'm saying at the end of their video, they wouldn't want to share it. But they might, and I've posted some stuff since they haven't messaged me at all, and they've used my content just for promotional reasons on their own Instagram, but they still don't message my profile back at all, which is very strange. So I'm just going to see if they sure enough share this video or not, despite me saying some negative stuff about them, which is an indication they don't actually pay attention to the content. And yeah, if you guys want to message them, maybe you'll hear back because you're a new customer or something like that. But again, I have no idea. As someone that does what I do, I don't really appreciate the way in which they've worked with me or communicated with me, and I certainly can't confidently say that customer service is good and recommend them. So that is my little rant about Toroline, and I guess do that with that what you will, but I hope you try the wasabi strings because they highly impressed me. But I'm going to keep looking. I'll probably try some more of the Toroline strings too, just to be sure. Wasabi's my favorite from them, and from there I will see what I do officially. But yeah, just some honest perspective and feedback on the strings, but also the company with some personal experience mixed in there. Hope you appreciated it. Stay tuned for a future video where I talk about my backhands and some other stuff, as well as some Toroline videos, and I'll be talking about my racket a little bit more. I'm actually going to be doing a custom paint job, which looks awesome. I'll go into detail about what that is a little bit and who's doing it, because they are a professional racket painting company out here in the States. So if you're interested in that, they're really good at what they do. So I'll be sending it to them. I'll show you guys my design. You guys can let me know what you think. And yeah, all that and more. You guys can check out my Instagram at Time for Tennis, just like you see on the YouTube channel, and leave some comments and likes on this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in a future video. All right, take care. Bye.